thank you for joining me today for another episode of Politics and Pints. And I am so excited today to be joined by just a legend, a tour de force in American politics, one of my heroes, one of my mentors, the great former senator from Alaska, Mike Gravel. Mike, how you doing today?
Thank you very much. And since I'm on the right side of the grass, I'm doing very well.
Oh, I know, man. And you just turned 90 years old, Mike, and I want to wish you a happy birthday. I know that was last month in May.
Thank you. But I'm happy to have the good wishes.
Yeah.
Let's see how long it lasts.
Absolutely. So how are you these days? How you feeling? And what's your take on everything that's going on, man?
Well, so far, my own physical situation is pretty stabilized. And so at 90 years old, I walk around a little bit to exercise. And other than that, my wife takes great care of me. With respect to events beyond my personal life, we couldn't have a worse situation than we have today. That is, of course, the stupidity of Trump as our national leader, bringing us to utter disgrace and revile throughout the world. And he doesn't seem to learn. He just is, he's a goddamn idiot. It's about the size of it.
You don't mince words. And, I was just talking to my buddy today who served in Afghanistan in the Army. He did a year over in Afghanistan. And to see the General Milley come out publicly and say that photo op that Trump and company did there across the street at the church, tear gassing everybody and walking across the street. I mean, that's unprecedented to see that.
Well, it is. And what's unprecedented from my point of view is the fact that he apologized for being there in his fatigues. And now he's really made the case, which is going to be very difficult for Trump to use the military in any kind of a negative way. In fact, just the opposite. If Trump loses the election and he refuses to step down, the military will officially, or somebody will officially escort him out of the White House. So I think it's significant that the chief of staff has made this distinction. I don't think we're going to see this mistake being made again, since it's been so conspicuous at this point. And I think it has a very beneficial twist to it, in that it will certainly negate any possibility of Trump using the military in a nefarious kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, those are uncharted waters. I mean, what would that look like? So if Biden were to win and Trump were to contest it and not agree to a leave, how does that work? I mean, who would order the military in to remove the commander-in-chief?
Well, first off, the Congress is the most important element of our government. The second is the executive, and third, judiciary. And so what would happen is the Congress would pass a resolution ordering the military to dislodge him from the White House. That's straightforward and that's simple. It's not all that complicated. The results are self-evident in the election. And so that won't be an issue. Now Trump will try to make it an issue, and he's laying the stage by saying that, voting by ballot, absentee ballot, is fraudulent. Excuse me. It's ridiculous. In fact, it's just the opposite. Voting by ballot is probably the fairest and the most thorough and honest way of casting your ballot.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, Jesse Ventura, who served in the Navy, makes the point, and you served in the Army. You understand, maybe you voted by mail when you served in the Army. He voted when he was overseas. He cast his ballot and mailed it in. So to disparage mailing your vote in is to say that all our military who voted over the years is null and void.
Not only that, half the military in the Civil War voted by absentee ballot. So there's no excuse to continue this rhetoric. And it is rhetoric. I think most people know the charges he makes without substantiation are just typically Donald Trump.
Right. So I mean, do you think he'll be a one-term president? I mean, do you really think that
I
Biden
think
can
he'll
beat
lose.
him?
Oh yeah. Well, we pray he loses, but I hope he loses, and I hope he loses big, because we have to make the distinction with what the Republican Party has bought into with Trump.
Do you think? I think this time around, people are going to pay more attention to who Biden picks as his running mate, because it's kind of clear that he's not going to really be in the driver's seat if he's president. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, I think it's very significant, and I think people are aware, just as you are. Now, I would have thought that he would have picked Klobuchar, because that would make more sense politically. But she has, because of her reputation as a prosecutor, particularly not prosecuting derelict police officers, has just excluded her possibility. So she's no longer there. The other is, of course, uh, Kamala Harris. Uh, she had a little smudge on her background too, similarly in prosecutorial activity, but I don't think it's as significant as Klobuchar's. But so that's that. And here again, for political reasons, he's got California. He doesn't have to do anything to court California. But so who does that leave? I just don't have a view at this point in time. There's no question he's got to pick a woman, and I think I think he's pretty well committed to picking a black woman, because of the black vote is so significant to his candidacy. And now with what's happened with the darn George, what?
Yeah, George Floyd killing.
Floyd George.
Yeah.
No, was it George Floyd?
Yep, George Floyd. Yeah.
George Floyd. As a result of that getting so much attention, not only in the United States and worldwide, it really boxes him in to select a black woman. Who that would be at this point in time, I think Stacey Abrams is very good. I don't think she's got the experience at the federal level to make the grade. I don't know of any other person in the arena at this point in time. I haven't been watching that closely all the candidates, so I don't think I can enlarge on any views I would have in that regard.
Yeah, there's a lot of wishful thinking on.
What about your views?
Yes, I was going to mention my good friend Tulsi Gabbard, who you co-endorsed for 2020.
That'd be made in heaven, and she would be extremely qualified. The problem is she would be anathema to the military-industrial complex, and that's a constituency that has Biden pretty well locked up.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I don't see it happening, but I think if Biden really wanted to be bold and really pull away a lot of Trump voters, if he put Tulsi on the ticket, that would be smart.
That would wipe it out, because she would really be a fantastic choice, and of color, woman, and Asian in many respects. So
Veteran.
It hits all the bases. And,
right.
And experienced in Congress.
Yeah.
6 years foreign relations, 6 years military affairs committee. Should be ideal. Who knows? It would be a stretch for Biden, but boy, it sure would turn a lot of heads.
It would ruffle a lot of feathers. So I remember vividly the 2008 election. That's where you and I first met each other, and I had the pleasure of driving you all around New Hampshire and driving you to that one of the last big debates that the Democrats had the guts to let you into, and that was at Dartmouth in Hanover, New Hampshire. And you were up there with Biden, and you picked on all of them, man. You ripped them all to shreds, and that was really missing from 2020. Obviously, they tried to get you up to this time around. So, your interactions with Biden were great there. What are your memories of Joe Biden from the United States Senate from the 70s?
Well, I like him as a person. He's very, very pleasant. He's just a nice guy. Problem is, his ideology is not well grounded. He, whenever he's made judgments, whether it's on foreign relations, when we invaded Iraq, he was right in the middle of it. Whether it's trashing Anita Hill and giving us Clarence Thomas on the court, he was the leadership in that regard. That's why we got Clarence Thomas, and why we have a lopsided Supreme Court. And so, but absent that, as an individual, he's just very charming and a very sort of ordinary guy. So you can't help but like him. Now, liking a person and making the case against them ideologically is a big leap. And right now, there's no question in my mind that he should become the president of the United States, because the choice between he and Trump is unbelievable, miles apart. Trump is destroying our government, and Biden probably would not revive it to what I would like, but then what I would like may not be necessarily what the American people would like. And so I would hope that he would get he's got the nomination. I would hope that he would make a very interesting choice with respect to a vice president, and then going from there. So let's see. Maybe he'll go to Tulsi Gabbard. She's really the only one that fits the description of who we would need right now: a woman of color and experience, both in the military and in Congress. Boy, it'd be tough to beat that.
It really would be. And when, I helped her with her campaign here in New Hampshire for a year, we saw people from all political stripes showing up to our events. We had military people, we had former MAGA people, conservatives, moderates, progressives, libertarians. So, it would make perfect sense. But like you said, she's gone pretty hard against the military industrial complex. And
and Joe needs that. Joe needs to balance his situation. And of course, that would trap the military-industrial complex, because once he made that selection, she's in there, and he's there, and they're going to pray on both knees that he stays for a long life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if it was Tulsi building the cabinet, I have no doubt she would put great people around her. We saw thought leaders like Stephen Kinzer from Brown University. We did a great forum with him in New Hampshire about Iran and foreign policy. So it's those kind of people who have always questioned the wisdom of policing the world and having 800 bases on planet Earth and being, the empire that's in every corner of the world. So, if she's not part of the administration this time, she's only 39 and she's going to be around for a while. And I think the future is really bright.
She is. But here, this could be Joe's choice. I mean, if he chooses something out of the box, it'll be more power to him. There'll be greater deference to him, and they'll try to bridle Tulsi. But it's made in heaven. I can't tell you how much I would hope that would happen, but who knows? Anything is possible in politics.
Well, it's true, especially in these last 5 years, man, with the rise of Trump and what we've seen happen. It's thrown everything out the window.
Yeah,
everything we thought possible.
Would Tulsi eat up Pence?
Oh my God, Pence! that would be I'd love to see that debate. Yeah, Pence is. What do you think about Pence, man? He scares me. He's got that quiet kind of far right.
He is very scary, and it's religion.
Yeah.
Trump is not. Trump uses religion, but he doesn't have a religious bone in his body.
Right.
And so what happens is that Pence would be much more dangerous. I never got turned into getting the Trump thrown out by impeachment. I never thought that was a viable approach, and I thought it was very weak, and it didn't advance anything at all. And all we would have had if he succeeded would have had Pence, which would be he'd have a greater likelihood of getting elected than is going to be than Trump.
Yeah, I mean that was the brilliance of Trump picking Pence. I mean, he wanted to pick Chris Christie, but he went with Pence knowing he needed to pander to that far right evangelical fire and brimstone community and give them the red meat.
Yep.
And
he did. And Pence has lived up to it.
Oh yeah, I mean the judges they've gotten, what's it called, the Johnson Amendment with religion, and it's crazy. It's like George W. Bush's evangelicalism on steroids.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah. So I know you saw Bernie Sanders during the cycle. You guys met up when he was out in California. And what do you think happens to all of Bernie's support now?
Well, I think it's going to go to Trump. Not what I'm talking about. Not Trump going to Biden. They don't have much of a choice. And plus, Biden seems to be angling to move to the left on issues. And I think you may well see him come out for single-payer health care. That would be for openers. Because clearly the virus has demonstrated that the Obama healthcare system is not viable, not in this kind of a situation. And so we need to have everybody covered by a health program. And that would be better. It'd be much better to handle any viruses or pandemics in the future. That's one possible opening that Biden could take. The other is, of course, the selection of vice president. We just covered that at length. I can't think of anybody. You know, there's a couple of women governors, but not of color. And he's got to do something about the color. The black vote was so significant for him in the primary. He owes his political life to the black community. And so I don't know of any, all he's got to do is get the color band right, and he can do that with Tulsi. And so we'll take it from there. But it's difficult to go beyond that. Now, there are many other issues that he can move over to the left. And every time he does that, he really shows that he's going to be pliable once he's president of the United States. And I think he would be. Once he makes a commitment in a certain area, it'll be kept as far as he's concerned.
Yeah, well, let's hope so, because if he wants to grab any of that constituency from progressives like Bernie and Tulsi's camp and Andrew Yang people, and people who supported you and Marianne Williamson, he's going to have to make some big inroads and some big concessions.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. If Marianne Williamson had color and more experience government-wise, she would be a great choice. She's so articulate. But I just don't think it's possible at this point.
Yeah, we met Marianne here in New Hampshire and had her on our show, and she's great. I really like Marianne Williamson. I think she's very intelligent and very well spoken.
Oh, tremendous! A tremendous person. Tremendous person. Great intellect, and her heart is on her sleeve.
Yeah, it definitely is. So looking at foreign policy, and this was a big thing we talked about, like a new Cold War we have going on with Russia and China. Obviously, Putin is not going to really be going anywhere anytime soon. He's going to be in there for a long time. What kind of posture does the next administration need to take in dealing with Putin in Russia?
Well, I hope that they become open-ended. Putin, at this point in Russian history, is just an ideal leader. He's very bright. He's very circumspect. He's not going to go start any wars or anything like that. And he really gets a bad rap in American society, and it's undeserved. That he's authoritarian. What else is new? You know,
Yeah.
we got Saudi Arabia. If we want to use a standard, it's not nearly as authoritarian as Saudi Arabia. So, and they're right close to us in their friendship. So that's not a negative. It should not be a negative. The other is China. I think that we have to accommodate ourselves to China and to Russia after the election. We should develop strong friendships. We should cut out all this war talk. And of course, I hope that Biden will not continue the nuclear expansion in the United States. There's no need for it. These weapons are not usable. Even if you have them, you can't use them because if you did, you'd destroy the planet. So what's the point of spending all this treasure on these weapons of mass destructions? The Chinese, we keep talking about China. Here, let's do an analysis. Trump wants to have a meeting on nuclear matters with Russia and include China. Well, Russia and the United States each have over 6,000 nuclear devices. China doesn't even have 300. So they don't want to get into a discussion about nuclear. They already have a great position on nuclear. They don't want to build a lot of them. It's a useless effort. And China and of course Russia does want to cut down the number of weapons, but the United States under Trump is so bellicose in that regard. Now, will Biden do a better job? He'll have an unbelievable opportunity to make changes in this regard, and I hope that he would.
Yeah, we have to stop the saber rattling and the move towards all-out war and nuclear war. I mean, it just, Gorbachev, I think he's about 90 years old. He's still writing and he's still out there. And he wrote a great piece in Time magazine that I shared on my social media. And I just pointed people to read it. I said, look at the clarity of what Gorbachev here is saying. We need to move away from militarism of our society and trillions on these stupid weapons and missiles and posturing and put it right into the people, invest in infrastructure, invest in feeding the people, housing, all that stuff. And the way things are going here in America, I mean, it's keg powder right now with all of that.
Terrible. And our infrastructure is just crumbling around us. And we're not, we've just opened the door for the expansion of China, which they were going to do anyway, but they're able to accelerate it because of our stupidity. And our sense that we want to try to forestall the advancement of China is ridiculous. We should join with them and partners in trying to raise the level of standard of living throughout the world, as the Chinese are doing with their belt and the Silk Road, the belt and their whole economic program,
right?
Building infrastructure around the world. We should join them, not fight them.
Yeah, we could learn from each other and work together. Now, in 2008, and I know for a lot of your career, you've always been ahead of the ball on drugs and legalizing drugs and looking at the Portuguese model. A big piece of the systemic racism in our country is related to the war on drugs. And, that was part of Nixon's Southern strategy, essentially repackaging and renaming Jim Crow the war on drugs. So do you think what we're seeing right now, the tides are going to turn and we're going to look towards decriminalization?
Oh, I hope so. And I hope that would take place under Biden. First off, it's taking place as we speak at the state level. They're more progressive in this regard. But we need a national law in that regard because some of these state approaches are not all that efficient and proper. But a national legislation in that regard would make all the difference in the world. But here again, Trump, neither Obama nor Trump realized that by decriminalizing marijuana and drugs, you're able to attack the inner city ghetto and deal with that problem as a health problem, and then shore it up with economic expansion in those communities that need it so desperately. Yeah, and that's one of the faults that I have against Obama, is that he never really did anything for the average American Black person. But they love him because his great accomplishment in history is the fact that he got a Black man elected to the presidency of the United States. And that is a sad commentary on what could have been possible with his leadership had he had any guts and fortitude.
Yeah, absolutely. He could have taken a lot of that goodwill, and if he really wanted to help inner cities and the people who were struggling the most, and those who are incarcerated, majority of them are in there for nonviolent crimes, drug offenses.
Oh, no question. Look at before I leave you, I do want to pitch my book.
Yeah, wanted to ask you about your new book and the Gravel Institute.
Out there, one that we're going to have back on our website, and if you want to buy these books, my recommendation is to go to our website, mikegravel.com, and the book for Citizen Power will be up there shortly, and you'll be able to buy that by just pushing on a button, and whether you buy the soft copy or buy the ebook, both are going to be available. Then, of course, there's the newest book, which is the failure of representative government and the solution. There's just been a report come out by a national organization that for 2 years have made recommendations to change what we're doing in representative government. And it's very good. Their suggestions are excellent. The only fault I would have with it is that they don't have a specific plan to get this enacted into law. Again, they operate within the context of representative government, and since representative government would be diluted where a lot of these changes take place, you're not going to see it enacted into law. And that's why the solution that I proffer in the failure of representative government, the solution is to create a legislature of the people. In fact, at the back cover of the book, it says a manual to create and operate a legislature of the people. And it's all laid out in the book. And anybody who's really addressed it, and there's nobody to my knowledge that's laid a glove on the solutions that I offer. And I hope that by getting it out there and people examining it, that it will generate some controversy and discussion. And that's what the idea would be, to discuss this, because this is a serious undertaking and it should be discussed by the people. But by the same token, it needs to be made aware of if there's going to be a discussion. And that's what I hope that you and others will use your good offices to bring it to people's attention. And it's a modest book. It's not 100, it's got about 120 pages. You can read it in one setting, and it's very specific. And so I would just ask people to go to mikegravel.com and press one of the buttons and take it home.
Well, absolutely. Well, Senator, thanks for taking the time with me. It was great to reconnect with you. It's been a while since we've seen each other. And, I just want to thank you for everything you've done. I mean, you've been a great mentor to me. The time that we had together in New Hampshire, man, being able to drive you around and hear your stories and be regaled of, the 70s in the U.S. Senate. I mean, I could just only imagine what it was like to be there. But, history is going to look really kindly on you, Senator. The things you did, the things you said, the courage, the guts you have. So I want to thank you for everything.
Okay, well, there's another video coming out. It's done by Sky Whalen, and they just sent me the first report of it. The title of it is, I see if you can see it.
Oh, American Gadfly.
Yes, and it should be out in a couple of weeks. And of course, what it is, it's got the kids, these high school kids who are running my presidential campaign, and they're on my shoulder making things happen.
Yeah, that was amazing to see, Mike, that these young kids who had no idea who you were before come out.
They discovered me, and of course their names are Henry Williams, Elijah Emery, Henry McGowan, and David Oak.
Right, the Gravel teens.
That's right, and here again.
That's awesome. You're almost like James Bond there.
Oh, they got me so cool. I was so cool by putting dark glasses on. So the movie, they're going to try to peddle it with various networks, but it's a full-length movie, and so I haven't seen it yet. But I can't. But this artwork is pretty good.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, if there's a movie that's going to come out, I'll promote it, and maybe we can.
Gadfly.
Well, that's awesome. That's exciting. I'm psyched to hear about that. I'll definitely watch it, and maybe we could do a screening out here in New Hampshire.
Me too.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I don't know if we've done the hour, but I get pretty tired with the interview.
Hey, no problem, Senator. It
all creeps up on me every day.
I hear you. Well, thanks for giving me the time, and we'll keep in touch, and I'll send this interview to you when it's up, and you keep fighting there, Mike. All right?
You will. Thank you.
Okay. Take care, Senator. All right, folks. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Politics and Pints. Subscribe to this channel. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/JackmanRadio, all social media. Thank you for tuning in, and cheers to you.